I'm pleased to say I'm joined by the owner of Dunvegan Enterprises, Tommy Gilmour. Thanks for the time, Tommy. How are you doing?
I'm doing absolutely wonderful.
Great to hear, and thanks for the time, and lots to get to, but first of all, excitement's building among darts fans for the return of one of the players in your stable, Gary Anderson, to the European Tour this weekend. First time in 7 years that Gary's back on the Euro Tour. How is he feeling ahead of playing on Friday?
He's really looking forward to, because as much as probably European tournaments have missed, Gary to a certain extent has missed it because of the calendar that they have now. We pick and choose because a lot of the competitions are in godforsaken places, and it takes too much out of your life. Where you've got to fly from Bristol to Amsterdam and Amsterdam to somewhere else. So we've tended to pick out the tournaments where you can fly somewhere and get a car or a bus or whatever just in the one go. So we're trying to cut down on the travelling time. So that's been the main problem why he's not been playing.
7 years, that's a long time. During that period, Gary's obviously still been busy with the Premier League, a lot of other events, the World Series, but I'm sure he'd often get asked when he's coming back to the Euro Tour. So what was your reaction when he said, let's give some of these events a go again this year?
Well, I knew that was going to be the place, because to keep Gary interested, he's got a young family and he's got his own business as well. But the idea of trying to marry everything up, it's very important because, his two kids are under 10, so it's important he has a family life as well as a darts life. And if we can marry it about, and especially I'm not doing the Premier League, which is people like to see him in the Premier League, but if we want to keep Gary Anderson as much as we can, then we've got to make sure that we plan out how he's going to play throughout the year.
Well, we'll come back to Gary and some of the other players in your stable and get on to you being a darts manager, but you've had a very long career in boxing as well. I was having a read earlier, and boxing that runs through the family for you. First of all, your granddad, Jim, boxed for Great Britain in the 1920 Olympics. What stories did you hear about that time?
Well, the thing is, that was great to do that, because remember that was the first Olympics after the First World War. So the team, is only a small size of what it would be today. But for him to box it in that was great. He was also the champion of Great Britain and Denmark, because in those days, if you beat the champion of Denmark, then you became the champion. So he'd done a lot of great things as an amateur. Then he went into the professional game and became a boxing promoter.
And your dad, Tommy Senior, as well, he managed boxers as well, so the Gilmour name has always been involved in boxing. Yeah. I'm guessing you're always going to follow in their footsteps.
Well, the thing is, when you consider that we were managing and promoting fighters, before the Boxing Board of Control was even founded, so we go back further than the Boxing Board of Control. So that's quite an achievement. And for my grandfather, he had people that Mickey Duff was one of his matchmakers in the early part of his career, and then he promoted a lot of the big fights in Scotland, both in public venues and football stadiums and so forth. So he done well, but then my dad came through. My dad was a good boxer, but had a problem with his eyes, so he couldn't box. So he ended up becoming a manager. And actually, believe it or not, he managed his first boxer when he was only 14 years of age. And he used to spar with his boxers and everything else, so he was very successful through the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, because, one time he had managed more British champions than any other manager in Britain, and coming from a small nation of 5 million people, it was quite an achievement. He had people like Charlie Hill and Chick Calderwood and Peter Keenan, and, there was quite a number, all the main names in Scotland, either boxed. And one of my grandfather's shows I was managed by my dad. So then I took up When I was 21, I started promoting shows on my own right, separate from my dad. He was the manager, but I promoted fights, and we used to have terrible ding-dongs, because he always wanted too much money for his boxers, and I was saying, no, you can't do it. So it was a good way of learning that, it's not like today where father and son work together. We fought like cat and dog. It was a great grounding.
Well, let's get on to the darts then, and a name synonymous with both boxing and darts, Barry Hearn. When you told him that you were retiring, he mentioned darts and possibly getting involved. What was your first reaction when he suggested that to you?
I thought it was mad, because he says to me, I said, I'm going to retire, because Barry and I have been friends for in excess of 30 years. And I said, I'm going to retire. He says, he's too young to retire. I said, no, I want to just go and do other things. He went, there's a great player coming through from Scotland, Gary Anderson. He says, I think you should meet him. I said, what does he do? He says, he's a darts player. I said, what do I know about darts? And that was how it started. He said, no, he said, you've promoted all these world championship fights and managed all the different grades of boxers up to world champion. He says it's about what you know about sport and about business and so forth. So eventually, he kind of persuaded me to meet Gary Anderson, and I had to look him up on the internet because I didn't even know what Gary Anderson looked like. But within 20 minutes, we took a shine to each other, and we've been there ever since. He said, I'm happy for you to manage me. I said, I'm happy to take your career in hand. And he's went on and won 2 world championships, a couple of Premier Leagues. Everybody that knows much more about darts than me has heard of Gary Anderson, and even those who know less than me have heard of Gary Anderson. So it's been an absolutely blinding journey, and he's, for all people see and hear Gary, he's got a degree in moaning. I mean, Gary moans for Britain, but he's possibly one of the best clients that I've ever looked after. We very seldom have disagreements, but we never have fallouts. And it's been an absolute pleasure to manage him all the way through, and I've had a load of fun. But in saying that, at the early days, going back when I decided to become involved, Barry Hearn says, it'll be great. He says, you'll have loads of fun. He says, we'll do this and you'll do that. And then I done a radio interview one day, and I went, Barry Hearn tells lies. I said, he told me there would be no pressure, and there would be nothing else. And he phoned me up and he went, what are you saying? I'm telling lies. I said, he told me there would be no pressure. I said, my stomach churns every Thursday. I said, I just worry about what's happening with Gary Anderson at that time, Michael Smith and Ian White. I said, I just worry about everybody. He said, but that's your enjoyment, he says. And it's been, I've had a blast that time.
One of the highest pressure situations in darts is a World Championship final, and we saw at the start of 2015 Gary become a world champion for the first time, beating Phil Taylor in a last set. You've been involved in a lot of big nights in boxing, but what was that night like for the final and seeing Gary lift that title after such a dramatic final?
Oh, that to be somebody, as iconic as Phil, because I had been disappointed the previous time when he ended up losing to Adrian, because it looked as if we were heading to win the championship. But then when you go on to win it and to beat Phil, that was just blew us away. We were in cloud 9 for weeks after that. It was something special up there with some of the great nights when our fighters have won world championships at the box, and that was special.
Gary then joins a small list of players to defend the title the following year, and I remember chatting to him and yourself. You were there as well, the media day for the House of Flying Arrows film, which followed Gary around before and during that World Championship, and what a story it turned out for them, the main character going all the way and winning the title again.
Aye, but it's not finished, because he's going to win another world title. I'm absolutely positive that Gary Anderson will win another World Championship before he retires.
We've seen this year, haven't we, the form that he's shown on TV, winning a title as well, and he's starting to play in some of these Euro Tour events again. It looks like he has got that hunger for the game again, and practicing a lot more with Ryan Searle as well.
Yep. But as I said, because of the extra practice, and I'm no having done as much travelling because of the World Series and the Premier League, he was able to, to sit down and do all these, he's done a few exhibitions, but playing in the tournaments, and because like everything else, we go through bad parts in our careers, and you say, why am I doing it? And I've got a business and I'm comfortable and everything. But Gary always had this hunger, but very few people, when I would tell him, so don't worry, Gary will be okay. When he had that blip for a year or two, we knew what the problems were. He had problems with his back, with problems with the travelling, possibly. Maybe that was the back problem, on and off aeroplanes and so forth. But in-house, we knew that Gary was going to come again. And when he phoned up and he said he was speaking to Stephanie, my daughter, who arranges all his diaries and stuff like that, and we had a talk with Gary and with Rachel, Gary's wife, and we knew, and we were planning last year what tournaments he was going to go to this year. And the minute that it was Gary's idea to sit down and we got it right, we knew that everything was going to be okay, but we just had to have a wee bit of faith. And when it came to the hard work, Gary stepped up to the plate, and as you say, all these nights he's playing darts with Ryan Searle, him and Ryan got on great. They can really, I think they each have brought the other one back on, and Gary's laughing and enjoying the fun again.
Good to see, and it's not just Gary that you've managed over the years. You touched on a few players that you've managed before, Michael Smith and Ian White, and you've got a fairly small stable of players at Dunvegan. So what is it you look for in a player when you're thinking of bringing them in?
They want to work, but we've been doing this for decades, and even although I don't know anything about darts, it's about attitude and getting them to realise this is a job, but you've got to enjoy it, because there's so much in it. So that it's the commitment. Because with Gary, it was very easy because Gary had a proper job, 8 in the morning out in the building sites and so forth. A lot of these players, they've never known anything other than playing darts. And it was to try and make sure that you got all these attitudes together, and and you're not going to be the world champion immediately, But when Michael Smith was with us, Michael won the youth world championships, and you could see that Michael's a great player. Okay, I don't manage him anymore, but that doesn't mean to say he's not a great player. And the years of hard work and dedication that he's put in, it's paid a dividend. And you can see that with the other boys coming through, like Cameron Menzies. He's coming through, and he's in the top 64 and the Pro Tour and so forth. And that's good, because he's starting to gain confidence, because he has the same anxiety problems that other players have had, and had to help. And you've always got to keep talking away to, because he doesn't believe how good he is, but he is good.
Yeah, I was going to mention Cameron Menzies, another Scot that you've got in your stable. As you mentioned, he's now in that top 64, still only on his second year with a scorecard, and he's got a character. He's exciting to watch. What's it been like managing Cammy?
But it makes me smile in the morning, because everything, if I could show you, every time he has a bad game, he sends me a text within 10 minutes, and he's suicidal. It should be the Samaritans he should be phoning rather than me. He's suicidal. And then an hour later, he'll send me another text. That's me, I'm okay now. Because you've always got to keep talking to him and so forth. But he's such a character. He's the sort of character, in the years going forward that really needs, because he wears his heart in his sleeve. He's so passionate about everything he does, and I think with Cammy, I think maybe in the next 2 or 3 years he'll come good and be working himself up the ladder.
Forward to seeing that. And the third tour card holder currently that you've got in your stable, Jamie Clark, he's not quite had the same amount of success, but I was just looking, he's only 26, so how has he found life on the tour so far?
He's okay. As again, this is his first time. He'd never really taken it up seriously, and it was only through bumping into Gary at one of the exhibitions, and he ended up, he was with a friend of mine, Andrew McCardle, that coaches some of the young players in Scotland, and he says, we'll go and see Tommy, and we just go on. And I think that the idea that they can pick up the phone, the same as the boxers can, they can pick up the phone at any time, because they're kept, everything they're needing is there for them, and that's important. And if they know that they're every bit, Jamie Clark's every bit as important to me as Gary Anderson. And people say, oh, you can't say that, Gary Anderson's at the very top. But when he started off and came into and he had to start at number 128 and work his way up after having threw away dozens of arrows into the lakeside pond when he had some disasters in the BDO. And what pleases me about Jamie is Jamie he's quite consistent. He's scoring. His scoring has been okay, but he's just not been getting the wee bit of luck. You've got to get by that first round in the Pro Tour, but he's had some nightmare. He's been drawing against like Michael Smith or Gerwin Price or Michael Van Gerwen. We're not getting the chance, and it's just as he's going on. But in the next, I think that Jamie's probably, certainly, I would say 2 years to be start to see you. He'll be a late developer and probably get there by the time he's 30.
Just lastly, we should touch on some of the other players in your stable as well that don't have tour cards. And Mark McGuinney, we are going to see him on TV in the World Seniors Masters in a few months. You've also got Chris Quantock, Matty Dennant, Ryan Hogan.
Yeah.
What are the goals for them for the rest of the year?
Get their tour card. That's all we talk about. I mean, I'm nobody. I mean, they do the challenge tour and so forth, but with Mark had just lost a bit of confidence in what he was doing, and he was putting pressure upon himself. So we would just keep meeting him and having a cup of coffee and talking through, and nothing. The idea that he's with somebody that we don't put pressure on them. Or you must do well because of this or that, because if they're happy, we will do well, because it will show through. And Mark McGuinney he's a perfect example, because he's done very well in that the Modus tournament and so forth, and as you say, he's going into the playing the seniors. Ryan Hogarth, who was just a wee bit unlucky, not to get his tour card, same with Matt Dennant. I mean, Matt's a super player. I love watching him, and as for Chris Quantock, I mean, he's playing that Modus tournament this week, and he's sitting in the middle of the table, but he had a lot of problems, and because of the not being able to get doctors and so forth, he had a problem with his elbow, which and also with his wrist. So it was taking but he's starting to throw his numbers again. So I'm quite optimistic about the young boys coming through, But the most important with them, more than anything, when they come with Dunvegan, they've got to kind of work hard, and because we encourage it, because there is life-changing amounts of money out there that will change their lives much more than that will change, because we've been running a business for 40 odd years. So, but these are young boys, with young kids and families coming through, and it's a pleasure just because their success is my success.
Well, Tommy, it's a pleasure to chat to you. We do appreciate your time, and best of luck to Gary on the Euro Tour this weekend, and to all your players for.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll all be sitting there with our mobiles to see how Gary's doing. So he's the changing him, because you see the change in attitude, because he doesn't like people putting undue pressure. He has everything mapped out. You can see that even when he goes away, the way he's going to have an iron board and an iron in his room, so that he gets the creases right in his playing shirt and so forth. His wee idiosyncrasies, but they work for him.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing that shirt with no creases on this Friday. Thanks for the time, Tommy, and wish you all the best for the rest of the year.
Okay, not a problem. Delighted. Thanks again.